All right, welcome students. So today we're going to be working on 3.1 ratios. Our standard is 6th grade number sense A, and your objective is that you will be able to understand the concepts of ratios and equivalent ratios. Our mathematical literacy is ratio, equivalent ratios, rate, unit rate, and equivalent rates. All right, so for 3.1 ratios, let's talk about our success criteria. Now, by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to write and understand ratios using the appropriate notation and language. Also, you'll be able to recognize multiplicative relationships in ratios. You'll be able to describe how to determine whether ratios are equivalent, and also you'll be able to name ratio equivalents to a given ratio. All right, so for our mathematical literacy, we have 3 vocabulary words today. So we have ratio, value of a ratio, and equivalent ratios. Now we're going to go into these vocabulary words further into detail when we go over the example problems. But a ratio is a comparison of 2 quantities. The value of a ratio is the number A to B is associated with the ratio A to B and is called the value of a ratio. Repeating myself there. Equivalent ratios. 2 ratios that describe the same relationship are equivalent ratios. And I do have an example there, 1/3, and I'll go over that in the example problems. Here we go. The first problem we have here, we want to find out the ratio of cats to dogs. Now you have to really listen carefully. Cats to dogs, so listen to what was mentioned first. Cats would be the A unit, and dogs would be the B unit. So again, cats to dogs. So we got to count how many cats there are. So let's count. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 cats. Okay. Now how many dogs are there? 1, 2, 3. 3 dogs. So the ratio of cats to dogs, we have 6 cats to every 3 dogs. Now, you always want to simplify. In other words, we always want to reduce. Okay. So what would be the greatest common factor that would go into 6 and 3 evenly? Well, that would be 3. So in other words, we're just reducing. So how many times can 3 go into 6? It can go into 6 twice, and 3 can go into 3 once. Okay, so the simplified ratio, we have 2 cats to every 1 dog. Okay, so 2 cats to every 1 dog. 2 cats to every 1 dog. 2 cats to every 1 dog. And so what we said in our mathematical expression or a mathematical description here, now we've also showed it in a visual form. So what we would call this here, 6 cats to 3 dogs, would be equivalent to 2 cats to 1 dog. All we did was reduce by 3. So this would be called equivalent ratios. Okay. Now, that would also be like the, you could say, a multiplicative relationship with equivalent ratios. Okay. Now let's also write this ratio in a few different ways. So again, we can write it as a fraction, 6 cats to 3 dogs. We can write it with a colon, 6 cats to 3 dogs, and as a word, 6 cats to 3 dogs. Okay, so there's 3 ways to write ratios. Now, let's go ahead and do another one. So the second problem that we have here, we want to find the ratio of fry bread to bowls of stew. Again, the first thing that was mentioned was fry bread to, the second thing that was mentioned was bowls of stew. Okay. So let's count all the fry bread. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's cross them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces of fry bread to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bowls of stew. Okay. Now, can we simplify this? Can we reduce it? is there a greatest common factor that can go into both 5 and 8 evenly? Well, I guess the only one is the number 1. This is as simple as it gets. Okay, so there's your final simplified answer there, your ratio. So 2 ratios that describe the same relationship are equivalent ratios. So that means that if we were to extend that out, and then let's say if I were to kind of do that. Now what do you notice here? Well, these would be all equivalent ratios. So all we did with 1, 2, 3 was we multiplied this by 2. Okay, so 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Here we multiplied by 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. Multiplied by 4. 1 times 4 is 4, and 3 times 4 is 12. Multiply by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 5 is 5. So again, these are equivalent ratios. We're just describing the ratio and showing that it has the same relationships. Okay, and it's the same thing up here when we divided. Okay, so we divided by the greatest common factor of 3, and we reduced. So these again would be equivalent ratios with multiplicative operations, multiplicative relationships. Okay, well, that's all we have. Okay, so that concludes our lesson with 3.1 ratios. Now, your success criteria, by now you should be able to write and understand ratios using the appropriate notation and language, and also to recognize multiplicative relationships in ratios, and to describe how to determine whether ratios are equivalent, and also to name ratios equivalents to a given ratio. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please watch it as many times as you need to, so that way you can understand how to do the assignment. Okay, more to come soon.